Hi, welcome to a new episode in the Internet Surfer, hosting the most horror and creepiest stories from Reddit. Please don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy.
Redditors who have worked at Chuck E. Cheese, any horror stories? Episode 1. Worked at Chuck E. Cheese 20 years ago as a game technician. I would get pulled out of my repair room to help understaffed areas, which I did not really mind much. They asked me to be the rat one time. I am 6 feet 7 inches, so everything that was supposed to be baggy was comfortable, like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer goes to clown college. So, I walk out there, over 7 foot tall with the head on and wearing my own shoes since the suit ones are too small. Children start crying and running away. So, they immediately pull me into the back room and get a guy from the kitchen to take over. They never asked me to do it again. My second favorite story was the time the girl I was helping into the suit vomited in the head. So, I take it from her and start carrying it outside to hose it off. Once again, the kids start crying. I guess I should have been aware that bringing the severed head of Chuck E. Cheese across the floor could cause some panic in our young customers. Then there was the time some father came in with every intention of kicking my ass because I gave his daughter nightmares. I remembered the girl was like 4 years old and stopped me to say that her token was eaten by a game. So, I explained to the dad and the GM that I had opened it up and the mechanism was clean, so I flicked her a credit and closed. Then she said, "Haha, I tricked you," and I explained to her that lying is not right and what she did was stealing. I told her to enjoy the free game and to think first before doing something like that again. I got the dad to bring her in so I could explain she was not in trouble, and no one was mad, just to try to use better judgment next time. The dad went from angry to embarrassed, and I felt guilty for giving a little kid nightmare. Oh man. My dad used to manage Chuck E. Cheese when I was a kid. My sister and I would stay late on the weekends after close and when they took off the suits of the animatronics for cleaning, and there was a time we were playing in the showroom and one of the employees thought it would be funny to turn everything on. So, they burst to life, all raw robot parts and furless, bulging eyes and bared teeth, terrifying. It sent 2 7-year-olds running. Recently I could not even play Fight Nights at Freddy's due to deep-rooted trauma from unexpected robot action. No thank you. Worked at Chuck E. Cheese when I was in high school. Here are a couple of things that happened when I was there. The longer a pizza sat in the window waiting for table delivery, the less toppings it had when it got to the table. The costume room was the only place without security cameras. It became a den for horny high school kids. A Chuck E. Cheese tape was filmed in said den. The 4 participants were wearing nothing but the costume heads. On nights when we threw out the raw pizza dough, we would have pizza dough fights after we closed. A ball of raw dough to the gut hurts like hell. There were a number of gay guys also who collaborated there with me. I got along with them, and everything was great. Now one of the gay guys who worked there was also a cross-dresser. At the time I was unaware of this fact. One night I walk into the manager's office and see the back side of a woman in a tight pencil skirt. The ass in this skirt was easily the best ass 16-year-old me had seen in person. The owner of the ass turns around and I have some on the best tit 16-year-old me had ever seen staring me in the face. I then hear a horrifying deep voice greet me. My jaw dropped and my eyes dart back and forth from face to tits as I put 2 and 2 together. As I realize this woman is my cross-dressing coworker, he grabs my hands and plants them firmly on his breast. They felt great. The end. I worked at Chuck E. Cheese when I was 16. Unfortunately I do not have any horror stories. My one opportunity wasted. Now that I think about it, the employees would routinely steal money from CEC by pocketing the salad bar money and not ring it up on the cash register. They would also smoke pot in the walk-in freezer. I also got cotton candy everywhere when I made it for the first time. The kids laughed at me. One time I was trying to refill the soda fountain machines and I did not know how to do it. I made a mess. The kids laughed at me. One time working the ticket toy trade counter, this guy and his girlfriend, around 18 to 19, came up to exchange a few tickets. They were short some item and he asked if his girlfriend showed me her chest if they could have it. I cannot remember what the toy was, though. Okay, not Chuck E. Cheese for the record, but I have not had a chance to share these stories from a particular family-themed / children's channel-themed hotel. Poop in the middle of the walkway entrance and no one noticing for about 20 minutes. Had a customer come tell me and I had to look at it to believe it. Saw two different families fight over a game of air hockey and the dads were throwing punches at each other while the kids were just yelling at them to stop. Trying to explain to a guest that the reason their disc for their PS2 was not working was because their child scratched it out. Of course the parent refused to believe that was the case and their child could never do something like that. Had a child tell me his father dropped him off here so he could drink at the bar, he just wanted to play with his dad. I played skee-ball with him and rigged the claw game to get him whatever he wanted from it. I worked there for a few months before getting a better job at a private school day care. Honestly, the kids really did not bother me all that much. The co-workers were awful. No one cared about their job, and everyone was overworked. I legitimately wanted to make kids' birthday parties super fun and give them attention and joke around with them, but instead I had to be running to the back to clean up the salad bar, run pizzas to other tables, let someone know that they needed to fix a game, etc. I understand multitasking, but they either needed to prioritize giving attention to the birthday parties or taking care of all the other stuff, because it is next to impossible to do both, especially when you work 2 birthday parties simultaneously. The worst, though, was that one of the managers stole money and tried to pin it on me. I was new, I did not know I was supposed to count my register by myself. He told me he was supposed to do it. He stole money from it, and when the other managers confronted him, he acted like he had no idea where the money was, but it must be the new girl. Fortunately, they did not believe him, it was a pattern for him, and he was fired. He did not go easily. They had a security watch out for him for a couple of days because he tried to vandalize the place. I can tell a couple quick and dirty stories after working there for 3 years, which was my first job. I worked in the kitchen as the crew leader, but we were such a close group of employees that nothing there was secret. There was a running joke about the cashier curse because so many of our female cashiers got pregnant. One time a stripper got hired for the showroom and she told me that the manager used to sneak her and her dancer friends in after hours for private shows. There was an assistant manager who got fired right before I was hired. He was known to take money out of the safe, buy a bunch of meth, flip it, and then return the money to the safe later that night. Of all the stores in our shopping center, we by far have the most cash on hand at any given time, yet were never robbed. Every other store in the shopping center had been robbed except us, including a bank. Though we did have a gang fight. I was in the kitchen cleaning up and 3 guys violently spilled into the kitchen, rolling around on the ground throwing blows. We had an employee who was trying to leave the gang life behind and rivals had recognized his tattoos and decided to jump him. Luckily, the customer who started the fight did not use the knife the police officers found on him when they showed up. Older kids would beat on the costumed characters all the time. I do not know what it is about those costumes that made little kids, the evil ones anyway, want to hit them. One time the girl that was in the Chuck suit came running into the kitchen crying after someone had slammed her on her back hard enough to leave a bruise. Little kids shit and piss in the ball pit all the time. When this happened, the poor sap who was running the game room would have to gather up all the balls, take them back and hose them all down. This happened at least once a month. Once when working the ticket price counter, a father threatened to break my neck because he thought I was rude to his son. Another time I watched a man backhanded his 16-year-old daughter for an unknown reason. I did not speak their language, so I do not know what she did to get smacked. A game room employee almost got hit by a parent who was not happy about the employee stopping their delinquent child from running up and down the skee-ball lane. One time a large arcade/miniature golf place opened, and we found out that our tokens work in their games. A friend of mine who worked there said while they were sorting tokens the manager wondered aloud, where are all these Chuck E. Cheese tokens coming from? When we got hungry sometimes a pizza would, accidentally, get messed up and therefore could not get served to the customer. Oh darn, we will have to eat that one, smiley face. I can safely say in the 3 years I worked in the kitchen I made sure no one messed with anybody's food. That just was not cool. Every day at that job was an adventure and we were always busy. Weekends were usually booked solid with parties and insanely busy all day long. It was hard work, minimum wage, long hours and greasy uniforms, but I made some lifelong friends and it was a great first job because it taught me how to work. There was no slacking off when we were busy. Those pizza orders piled up very fast and you couldn't get behind. It was a great first job. Everyone should have to work food service at least once in their life. And yes, the pizza sucked. That is what happens when you buy the cheapest ingredients possible. Did not work there, but I went there a few times as a child. I was 5 years old and was at a classmate's birthday party. I was just getting over being sick, so I was happy to be able to be at a fine establishment like Chuck E. Cheese's. I eat pizza and have an enjoyable time with my friends. At the end of the night, when we are being rounded up by our parents, 2 other kids and I are still running around. I am chasing a friend, and I stop to catch my breath, and I cough, but I do not need to cough, I need to throw up. I do, then I wipe the sick off my jacket and continue to chase my friend. I get sick as I am running, just a wild crazy trail of throw up everywhere. My dad ends up getting a hold of me and takes me to clean up in the restroom. When we go back out to ground zero, it is just a mess. And there is one lonely employee, with a broom and sawdust. Oh my God! Is all he could say at the mess I had made. Poor guy, I would have quit after that. Worked during high school as a game tech/guy who cleans up after messy customers at a CC in Mississippi. Got a couple of good ones to share. First week on the job working without someone watching me, I had to physically get in between a young guy and an elderly black lady while they were fighting. Lady stole 3 tickets from dude's daughter and threw them in this girl face when I told her to return them. I am a small guy, and my GM thought it was hilarious when I told him. Not something I was expecting to do. I caught my technical manager, guy who works on games and nothing else, sleeping under the basketball games at least once a week, but he liked me and said I was smarter than anyone else in the store, so I never reported him for it. He also decided that he wanted to personally train me to replace him as the tech manager, but I would not let him since I was about to quit for college. He still decided that he was going to train me anyway because he liked the way I worked. Thanks, Ron. You are a cool guy. Got scheduled to run and close the kitchen one night. I had never done either, let alone work in kitchen at all. That night was the worst. I had to stay an extra 2 hours after normal close to finish that by myself. Had an assistant manager reprimand me one weeknight when the store was completely empty for talking to a coworker after I had finished all my work before I clocked out. Almost quit that night, but there was a lot that led up to it that added to my anger. Had to clean the entirety of the sky tubes when I had an ingrown toenail. A kid had gotten scared and pissed herself that climbed all the tubes and got it everywhere. Took 2 hours to finish. Had an overweight woman cuss me when I told her she was too large to ride a kid's ride. That one was funnier than anything. Having people eat all but one wing on the buffalo wing tray, that goes through the industrial oven twice, and saying that they were undercooked. They come pre-cooked, we just thaw and reheat them. People trying to leave their kids while they shop. Other people getting angry when we had to go on a wait and cussing me or the girl working at Kid Check. I had to deal with a lot of angry rednecks who could not win the children's games or that had put a token in a jammed game and decided to put 15 more into the game just to make sure that it did not work. And then got madder when I was not allowed to give them the tokens that I took out of the jammed game. I was taking a quick poo/check text messages/mini break in the bathroom one day and little kid runs into the bathroom and jiggles the stall door, and I say it has taken. So, he gets down on his hands and knees and climbs under the door and into the stall with me. I am like, "Get out here, kid." And he just stares at me until his mom comes and yells for him to get out. Now for the worst. The Chuck E. suit. For the record, I was in it a lot and all the other employees said I was the best at it, so I did every party and show that came on when I was working. I never minded because it has me a chance to be silly until I had to get in 6 times a row a couple of times. The show comes on 2 times an hour plus whatever parties may be during that time. One of my first times I had a young teenage girl 13 to 14 try to seduce me while I was in the suit. She followed me around in and out of the suit. Got groped in the crotch and ass on several occasions. Cannot say anything or do anything because you must stay in character. Had a grown man grab my arm through the cracked door to the Chuck E. room and try to follow me in while tickling me. That was freaky because that room is soundproof. I slammed the door on his face though. Had a kid sprint across the floor and punch me so hard that the mask got knocked sideways like in the movies. That hurts so much because it rips the Velcro and inner helmet around your face. During a busy hour I did the show and got tackled by about 30 kids, and when the mask hit the floor it jumped into my mouth and a sharp price or plastic sliced the price of flesh that connects my gums and lip completely in half. I bled all over the inside of the mask. Did not even finish the dance, just ran back to the room. My favorite is when a toddler, no older than 2, followed me around the store yelling, "Chuck E. is a stupid bitch." For about 10 minutes. I was laughing so hard inside the suit I could not see straight. Then he started to kick my shins. The suit could suck alt, but it did not have to if you made it fun. But I have to say that the worst thing about working there is that I was there for a year and a half and never got more than 18 hours a week or any type or promotion, despite knowing how to fix almost every problem that happened to any game on the floor and having special training from the tech manager. Something about having too many black shirts, I was a red shirt, starting position, in the store, but when one would leave that slot would get filled by someone that had started working after I did. I hated that place so much, but I needed the money, so I stayed until I had to leave for school. This is not a horror story, but one time I was with my nieces at Chuck E. Cheese, freaking 20 years old and just enjoying pizza. Suddenly I noticed that there's Guitar Hero at this Chuck E. Cheese. Sweet, love Guitar Hero, and none of the kids are playing it because it is too complicated. Next thing I know, freaking Chucky the rat comes next to me and like points to the Guitar Hero and then air guitars. Basically saying, "You want to play Guitar Hero together?" I was like, yeah. Freaking played 3 songs with Chucky the rat, and it was super fun cause me and him / her were really into it. I did however notice that for some reason kids readably like to spank Chucky in the butt. I was thinking, damn it kids, where your parents are, Chucky just wants to jam you. I like to think that I made Chuck's day halacha. Oh man. I cannot believe I missed this one. My comment will get buried, but here we go. I worked at CEC for 2 years. Absolutely loved it. The common thing I got was, how do you deal with all those bratty kids? The answer is simple, the kids are not the problem. It is the adults. So, I started during the end of the summer. When 4th quarter came around, our busiest time of year, I volunteered to cover a friend's shift. It was my first weekend in the 4th quarter as a birthday party host. We are at full capacity with a wait. It is packed. At cake time, CEC hosts will do a song and dance. During this delightful performance, I see a large woman punch another woman in the face. Suddenly, the entire balcony is involved in this fight. Someone jumps on top of the balcony ledge and does a wrestling move on someone else, all adults. Of course, there are kids around though because it is cake time. Some of the people on the floor next to the balcony are getting hit, but most everyone was able to walk away. Unfortunately, a little baby newborn ended up getting hit with something. We only had one manager on duty, and he called the police officers quickly. It ended up taking several police officers to break it up. Everyone's meals were comped. And ever since that incident 8 years ago, CEC hired county sheriffs to stand around as security from Thursday to Sunday every week. We did not have a Chuck E. Cheese where I grew up, but I did work at another family fun center. It was a small pizza parlor / mini golf place with an arcade and pool tables. I started there when they introduced the laser tag arena. I was 15 when I was hired, and I helped set up the system and maintain computer functionality. Since this was not full-time, I refereed laser tag games to work extra hours. Get the full picture of how horrible this is, you must know a bit about the area. The town has a few exceptionally large craft breweries. One had a beer that was 11%, not common in bars around 2005. It was quite common for a group of college kids to roll in, chug a few pitchers of 11% beer, and then decide to play laser tag with a large group of children. We tried to separate groups as much as possible, but the laser tag was extremely popular, and we were not allowed to turn down people from playing at a specific time just because they were older. Now I have seen kids doing mischief. I have seen older guys throw up in back corners. What I saw one day beat all that. So, I am riffing a game. One rule which may seem crazy in a small, dark room, only illuminated by black lights, was that you could not run. Liability stuff. Well, people ran anyways, and refs did what they could to stop people. One day, we have a group of 3 college kids who we put up against a group of about 15 10-year-olds. The college kids were drunk, and the kids wanted to be on the same team, so it seemed fair. First few rounds, everybody was having an enjoyable time. Older kids were playing nice, younger kids were dominating and having a blast. Then one of the older kids got upset about losing 3 rounds in a row. He decided that he was faster than these kids, so he could outrun them to not be shot. Well, most arenas have obstacles that are extremely hard to see through. And one obstacle happened to have a kid behind it. I was standing about 5 feet away when the older kid came around the corner. He noticed the kid and tried to move him, but it was too late. What resulted was a kid getting pushed to the side by a couple of feet and a young man trying to jump and dodge the kid, but instead slamming into a wooden wall headfirst. This led to blood splattering on the wall, which I had never seen before. The college kid was not moving, but after hitting the wall and his head busting open, he threw up. So not we have vomit and blood in an exceptionally large area, which happened to be by the main exit. The kid on the other hand was okay, but he was so freaked out by the blood, that he started crying. Now we have too many bodily fluids flowing around and an ungodly smell. After the sudden shock wore off, I immediately stopped the game. Ran out of the arena and told the front desk girl to call for emergency services. I went back inside to escort people out of the arena but found that none of the kids would walk past the disaster that now blocked the exit. I decided to lead the group out the emergency exit, which triggered an alarm. I now have a horrendous scent behind me as well as several screaming kids and an alarm going off. Eventually, kids get out. Older kid goes to the hospital with his friends. Parlor stops servicing 11% beer. An age restriction is set on laser tag. And I spent a long time cleaning up what looked like the underground slime river from Ghostbusters 2. So please kids, do not run. Wow. Thank you for the gold. A horror story. So, I did not actually work there but my friend did. We were 17/18 at the time. He decided it would be a great idea to have his birthday at Chuck E. Cheese. That place is not necessarily designed for a large group of high school seniors, but we raged on like nobody's business. Anyways, another friend and I decide we should get the birthday boy a gag gift, so we went to a shop and bought a 12-inch double-sided purple dildo. We give it to him wrapped up in a bag and he gladly accepts it. We warn him that it is a dirty gift, so he takes it to the bathroom to open it. Next thing I know, he comes out of the bathroom with no bag or gift, and I am wondering what he did with it. Well, ends up he went to go put on the Chuck E. outfit and he runs back into the restroom. Of course, we follow him, and he quickly realized that the mascot outfit has a Velcro fly. He shoves that thing in the fly faster than the Flash takes to run a mile and he takes off running throughout the entire place. All we hear is a bunch of screaming, so we go check on him and it looks like he made it part way through the entire place and ended up getting tackled by staff into the ball pit. Obviously, he was kicked out and unfortunately, we were not able to take pictures because they threatened us with lawsuits. But it certainly made for some awkward explanation from parents that night. Not Chuck E. Cheese, but when I was a teenager, I worked at a similar kids' fun place with tubes/ball pit/video games/screaming children. As part of our elaborate play tube system, we had this cool netted section that happened to locate directly over the area where people who had scheduled a birthday party waited to go into the special birthday room. So, yes, one day a little kid with bladder control issues just totally gave like 20 people an impromptu golden shower. Kids, moms, dads, the birthday boy, everybody got peed on. And then I got to go search the tubes for the peeing kid who had immediately run off to hide. Was not hard to find him. There was a trail of urine to follow. Wish I could say stuff like that was an isolated incident, but if there is anything I learned from my time there, it is that kids are weird and gross. On one occasion, we caught them playing the world's most disgusting game of dodgeball in the women's restroom with used tampons they found in the little trash cans from the stalls.
Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share and subscribe. The Internet Surfer on YouTube for more horror and scary stories.